Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for practice owners and leaders, where we are obsessed with how to build a successful practice and get a life too. Hi, I'm Chuck Blakeman, and we're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time, get off the treadmill, and rehumanize dentistry by giving everybody their brain back. Today, I'm talking with Lois Banta. She is the CEO, president, and founder of Banta Consulting, Incorporated, a company that specializes in all aspects of dental practice management. Lois has over 32 years of dental experience and consults and speaks nationally and internationally. She's the new owner and CEO of the Speaking Consulting Network and a member of ADMC and AADPA. Lois, it's wonderful to have you with you, my friend. It's good to see your face.
It's a pleasure to be here, Chuck.
Yeah, it's good to have your smiling face on our podcast. If people want to see our smiling faces, they can go on YouTube and see them. But otherwise, they're just going to hear our smiling voices. So. Well, good. Well, let's talk about how to get off the treadmill of PPO insurance today. This is going to be fun. Give me a broad overview of what, first of all, how you see PPO insurance fitting into the dental practice, and then we can get into the get off the treadmill piece of that.
Well, the enticement to becoming a participating provider on dental plans is they'll put more butts in the seats, they'll gain more patients, they'll have a whole bunch more production. But what dental entrepreneurs don't realize is that once they are in network with a plan, they're married to that plan's fee schedule, not the practice's fee schedule. So therefore, they're writing off thousands of dollars. Yes, they're producing more. Yes, they're seeing more patients and frankly, burning out from seeing more patients. But what they don't realize is that write-off affects the overall overhead in a practice. So the gross production drives the overhead, but the net production is your collectible amount. So as you're writing off maybe 30% of what you produce, you're putting 30% fewer dollars in the bank, but you're spending more money in your overhead. About talking about it on your specific podcast. The treadmill happens when they are learning 100% of, 70% of something is better than 100% of nothing. But it's technically not, because if you wear yourself out trying to put the money in the bank, you're actually going to go backwards. And I've had so many calls from clients saying, Lois, I don't understand. I'm producing $2 million a year and I can't pay my bills at the end of the month. What's happening? And my first question to them is, how many plans are you in network with? And there are also many practices that don't take into consideration charging out the practice's actual fee and then creating an adjustment category for each plan that they're in network with, because if they don't do that, they don't know how many dollars they're actually losing in the practice.
So let's talk about a little bit about it. How do you create one of these PPO insurance plans? What would you do? What would be the first step?
So in order to become an in-network provider, you have to go through a credentialing process with that insurance company. And so they check out your legalities and your malpractice insurance and whether or not you're an ethical owner and integrity-oriented owner. And then they decide whether or not you can be on their plan. And then the dental professional, the dentist, signs a contract with the insurance company. It's sometimes several pages long, and there's lots of fine print in there about basically what they've signed the contract to do is to reduce their fee to the insurance company's allowable fee. In order to treat that patient, they have to charge that lower fee.
Right.
So a lot of dental offices don't track the write-off portion because they're either charging out the lower fee or they're creating an adjustment category just called insurance adjustment, and they're lumping all of the plans that they're in network with into one adjustment category. So they really don't know which plan is affecting them the most in the write-offs.
Yeah. Dentists don't like numbers, Lois, you know that.
I do.
How do we get them excited about tracking this stuff?
Well, for me personally, numbers for me, I love numbers that tell a story. I'm not a numbers person either.
Me either.
I don't love numbers, but I love them when they can tell you a story. And
Yes.
so what I do is I teach the dentist to allow the numbers to tell you a story. And that story should reveal something that's going to have a positive outcome on your dental practice and ultimately the patient's experience in that practice. And the thing I hear over and over again, Chuck, is that the dentist desire to do as they should. They go to dental school to learn how to be an excellent professional, an excellent clinician. And in order to do that, they have to use quality materials. They have to hire amazing team members to be able to be an effective communicator, to help the patient decide on the treatment that's going to be best for them. Once they're in network, they realize, oh, I'm going to have to do more dentistry in less time. I might have to send my lab cases to a foreign country. I'm not quite sure if I can choose the dental supply materials that are going to be the most costly. Therefore, I'm going to choose a cheaper product. And they end up asking them decisions potentially to lessen the quality of care for their patient, because now they're trying to make up the lost money and the overhead that's been now created by having to do more dentistry in less time.
You know, Lois, it's a great point. And my experience with practices is that this stuff is not intentional. Nobody would ever say, I think I'll lower the quality of patient care. It's
Right.
one little ancillary decision at a time that over time begins to erode the patient care. You would never want to erode the patient care, but you would do just exactly what you said. Cut a little corner over here that doesn't seem to be connected to it. Then you cut another one over here, and you cut another one, you use a lesser material over here, and all of a sudden you're not giving them what they need. So this is a big deal, and I love the numbers as well. I think that I don't like accounting. I didn't understand. I'm a big fan of Richard Branson, who tells a story that he was in a board meeting. He already owned, I don't know, like 150 companies. He was in a board meeting with his company, with his board, and they were discussing profit and loss statements and balance sheets. And one of them turned to him, who knew him really well, and said, "You have no idea what we're talking about, do you?" And he said, "Nope, not a clue." He says, "Just give me a number I can hit. Tell me what number I need to be paying attention to. I can do that."
Yes.
And I think that needs to be, we need to be freed from the idea that we all need to be accountants. We don't. We need someone to help us, someone like you, to help us figure out what numbers should we be tracking. And then let's have that number come find us. Even then, we shouldn't have to go dig and find it. We should have somebody be able to develop the report, the accountant or an office leader or somebody else who can put the stuff together for us. But Richard Branson didn't know this stuff, and he's created 400 and some companies, and he's a multi-billionaire. You don't have to. Numbers is the language of business. You don't have to speak numberese, but you do need to know enough to order a pizza and get a cab. And so I think it's really important for us to help them figure out what are the few numbers, because to me that's the real wilderness in this stuff for most dentists, and for me, and probably for you as well. If you don't like numbers, what am I supposed to track? So this is one we can tell you. You need to track not just your insurance, but how you pay that insurance, how you write it off, put it into categories, and figure out which ones of these plans are actually helping you the most. When I've seen practices do this, and you've seen this probably, they go through this process and they have multiple insurance plans. In some cases, they find they need to just drop one of them because it's just not working out. And they'd have never known that if they weren't tracking the numbers. So have you seen things like that?
Yeah, there are so many amazing companies out there that have built-in systems that you plug in a few numbers and it identifies the trends for you and your practice. And you ultimately want to track a few numbers. But when it comes to insurance, if you don't enter the data in a specific way, it's very difficult to determine which insurance plan is costing your practice the most money. So the thing that I recommend that a practice do, and we're coming up on January 1st, so it's clean slate time, so you can do this easily, is to each plan that you're in network with, create an adjustment category. Then compare the adjustments with that insurance's production and figure out what percentage of write-offs overall you're experiencing through that insurance company. But it's more important than that. You need to know how many patients are on each of those plans to know how it's affecting your overall patient base. You need to know how many dollars are being collected from each of those insurance companies. You need to know the comparison between production for that insurance company compared with overall production. And I've designed a spreadsheet that basically, once you plug in some basic numbers, it tells you, it identifies you which insurance company is costing your practice the most money. You also have to take careful consideration to the area of the country you are in, and if it's saturated with one specific plan and you opt out of in-network status with that plan, that could hurt your bottom line as well. So there's a whole lot that goes into the research to determine whether or not it's financially feasible for you to be able to make that change. But ultimately, you have to decide. This is where we're in an epidemic, Chuck, and I'm so happy to be able to be on this podcast to talk about this, because dentistry is in an epidemic of feeling like we have to participate in order to survive. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I think it's time for us to take control of our own ethics and integrity and desire quality. I treat fewer patients and put that same dollar in the bank than treat a boatload of patients to put that same dollar in the bank. I'd much rather take a moment to pause and reflect and decide what kind of environment do I want in my create down, and you think it through and you start making a list of what causes me to fill my bucket in a dental office of owning a successful practice. Insurance PPO plans probably are going to be at the bottom of the list.
Yeah. But that's where some of the hidden costs are, is in that kind of thing. And that's a lot of too many practice owners are actually focused on top line revenue and bottom line expense, but they don't look in the middle to say what's causing the expense, what's behind the expense. Mm-hmm. And I just, one example just popped into my head. One practice, a fairly large practice, had been ordering materials for years and years and years. And they had a couple of people who just order materials. And then they put a simple little game in place to say, hey, if we can save money and still get the same quality of materials, that was the key. You can't cut corners. We'll share some of the profit from that savings from you. The first year they saved $90,000.
Wow.
On materials. That's just one hidden cost. I'm guessing the insurance is a much bigger piece of the pie, and there's a much better opportunity to save. And that goes right to the bottom line, right into the pocket of the owner.
There are multiple practices now that are hiring an insurance coordinator. There's a job title for it, an insurance coordinator, and their sole responsibility is to manage all of these in-network plans and post the money and do pre-authorizations. And their full-time job is verifying benefits and determining whether or not a patient has the benefits available. And then what's happened as a happenstance, they change the communication style to tell the patient, well, you have this many dollars in benefits and you've met this deductible and it's December. Do you want to wait until January to start that dentistry, where they might have active decay or a cracked tooth, and it might not be in their best interest to wait, but we're helping the patients ultimately make decisions on their quality care based on what kind of insurance they have and how many benefits they have left.
Which means they aren't getting the quality care. Let's dive into that just a little bit more, how to have that conversation, because you've got other vehicles that can help bridge the gap, like the care credit type of things and other vehicles like that. How do you have a conversation to put their best interests first and make sure they get the care they need quickly instead of putting it off because insurance, what's the conversation look like?
You make sure that you're offering flexible financial arrangements. Absolutely, Chuck. So Care Credit's a wonderful solution to that, because they offer the interest-free, no-interest options as well as the low-interest options, and take the patient's payment up to 60 months, no penalty to pay it off early. It's very convenient. So you have to make sure that the patient understands there are options available to in decisions, sometimes by what they see visually. So having something as simple as having signage in your office that says, ask about our flexible financial arrangement.
Yes.
It starts the conversation.
And offer them. Too often we work with patients based on where we are. And I always say this, one of the rules of business is meet people where they are at, not where you want them to be.
Right.
So you want them to be where their insurance is right where it needs to be for today, or you want them to have all the money to, well, they may not be there. Figure out where they're at and then ask yourself, how do I communicate in a way that meets them where they're at? I guarantee the overwhelming majority of patients have no clue that they have options.
No.
They don't have options anywhere else. They just, they go into the doctor and the doctor charges them and they put it off to insurance and they have a deductible and that's that. And they don't offer them either. So I think that's one of those kind of duh things that we should emphasize, that we know it too well and our patients don't. So I think that's really important. Fine-tuning those verbal skills and how we actually create that experience for the patient, even before they get in the chair. Because when you've already told them, hey, you got $5,000 worth of work in your mouth, they're reeling from that, and it's very difficult for them to hear the rest of the conversation. I love the idea of having that posted, or even having someone share that with them at the front desk while they're waiting. Hey, do you want to hear about our payment options? They may say no, but just having that seed thought is really a good idea.
Starting the conversation and asking the right questions and engaging the patient in encouraging them to ask questions and sharing information. We have to change the dialogue about insurance. I would like to remove the word insurance from our dialogue and call it a dental benefit, because a dental benefit doesn't imply 100% coverage. And you also need to communicate to the patients very clearly. It's not like medical insurance. Dental insurance has a maximum. And so I equate it, and I've had many conversations with patients about this. So I equate a dental benefit plan to the similar to when you go buy a refrigerator and you get a rebate from the company for buying this refrigerator. So dental benefits are very, very similar to getting a rebate. It's not designed, and that's how we also have to change the communication. It's not designed to cover everything. It is designed to cover basic needs. And the minute the patient's preventive care goes beyond basic into periodontal, simple crown bridge, it's gone beyond basics. Not designed to cover everything. It's designed as a dental benefit to help offset some of the costs of their dentistry.
Yeah. Very, very well said. We too often use that word insurance as a blanket coverage kind of thing, and it's not at all, especially in dentistry. So how do collections come into this conversation with PPO insurance? Is there a factor there that we need to talk about?
Well, the collections obviously go down when you're in network with a plan, because there is less money paid by the insurance company. The insurance company also, there are several different designs to how the benefits work, whether it's self-funded or fully funded. And self-funded is not monitored by the insurance commissioner. So the insurance companies have a little more freedom and flexibility to get creative with how the benefits are paid out and whether or not something will be a covered benefit. I literally just had a conversation yesterday with a dentist that called me to complain because the patient had 2 anterior root canals on their front teeth. And the next basis of treatment, the next care recommendation is full coverage crowns on those 2 front teeth, because now they don't have live nerves and they're at risk for breaking. So post-core buildup and crown. And that's what they offered to the patient. And the insurance company denied it because the American Dental Association CDT guidelines state that what you do when you're finished with a root canal is you place a final filling. No, what has to happen when you finish a root canal is you place a final filling in preparation for the final restoration of the crown. And so the insurance company took liberties with the definition of the American Dental Association and used it in their favor, not once taking in mind what is in the best interest of that patient's quality care. It is very important for the patient to understand, because you need this dentistry doesn't mean insurance will cover this dentistry. So I recommend a verbal skill actually with the patient every single time you're talking about dental benefits is that the design of your plan may change at the outcome of payment based on that plan's design. You have no control over the plan's design. The insurance company and the employer have a control over the plan's design. You, as a dentist, are the facilitator of dental treatment. You do not get to control whether insurance will cover something. You have to make ethical, evidence-based, diagnostic treatment decisions for that patient. You have to document thoroughly, I actually call it obnoxiously detail, why the dentistry was done. And we're really good in the dental profession about documenting what was done, the date it was done, the materials used, the tooth numbers, et cetera. We're not necessarily really great about documenting the why, and that's what insurance companies need. The number one reason they don't pay a claim is we didn't provide enough information to them.
It's one of those fundamentals of business. I talk about it all the time. Who, what, when, where, and how always need to be accompanied with why, including insurance. We don't think that way. We think about the mechanics and the process. No, it's the motivation why you're doing this, and to help bridge that pulling that out of context. Because that's exactly what the insurance companies are doing, is pulling that ADA guideline out of context. They're not looking further down the road and saying, well, what else should happen? Well, let's just look at this piece by itself. So giving the why helps with that a lot. Well, this is great stuff. Is there anything else that we need to know that we haven't talked about yet about putting together a PPO insurance plan?
No, ultimately, the dentist, before they sign on the dotted line, they need to research the contract to make sure they're making an informed decision. When they're having conversations with patients about choosing quality care, they need to help the patient make an informed decision by deciding on the dentistry that is in their best interest, exclusive of an insurance plan. And we need to start those conversations with our patients and not start the conversation of, here's how many dollars you have in your maximum, and we verified your benefits, and here's how much they'll cover. And oh, by the way, let's send a pre-estimate and let you wait 6 weeks for your quality dentistry so we can let the insurance company decide whether or not you should have this dentistry. So we need to change the conversation. Long-winded answer. We ultimately need to change the conversation.
That's good. Yeah, we have a training center here in Denver, and splashed across the front of it in big, tall letters, it says, make your own business rules. And that's really, we have to change that conversation, because he who makes the rules wins. And too often we just assume that the insurance companies and everybody else have made the rules, and we're now subject to the rules. Well, there's interpretations, there's ways to develop the why and figure out which insurance companies take control of the conversation. Take the conversation back and make your own business rules. Don't assume that you're a victim of the insurance companies by themselves. There's a lot of hidden costs and a lot of hidden profit that can come your way as a result. This has been fun. How do people, you got 32 years of dental experience figuring this stuff out. How do people get a hold of you so that they don't have to wade through this morass by themselves?
They can email me directly, Lois, Lois, at bantaconsulting.com. You can go on my website. There are complimentary forms that you can download. And as a result of them attending your podcast, I'll give the secret code to you right now. And it's when they log on to complimentary forms, on the bottom of my homepage, there's a password you need to enter, and it's my full name, Lois Banta. The secret is it's capital L, capital B, no spaces. And then they can download a boatload of complimentary forms, how to work with me. I have very many services. I can work with you remotely doing the Zoom training. I can work with you in office doing spot training where you work on a specific topic. And I have a wide array of specific consulting options all the way up to 12 months.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun, Lois. I'm looking forward to having you back on our podcast. And I'm looking forward to a lot of insurance companies figuring this out better, and the dental industry being better off as a result of PPO insurance. Thanks for doing this with me today.
It was a pleasure, Chuck. Thank you.
You bet. If this podcast was helpful, please subscribe by computer or by phone, or connect with us at www.gottsummit.com, 2 T's, GOTT summit.com. That stands for Get Off the Treadmill. We have those summits quarterly for dental practitioners only. Or connect with us at www.chuckblakeman.com, or email us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Let's get off that treadmill. Let's get into the participation age. I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Thanks.